Hey, what's up, fam? I'm here today to give you guys my official picks, predictions, and bets for UFC 325 that takes place this weekend in Australia. Apologies for the delay. I usually release these videos earlier in the week, but we're here. I'm ready. I got my quarter zip on. I got my matcha here right next to me, and I'm ready to break down some fights. I'm kidding about the matcha though. I don't drink that shit. But let's dive in. Let's go into the first fight on the card, or the first fight that we did have on the card, which was Aaron Tao and Namsrai Batbayar. I was actually really excited about this fight. I thought this was going to be the best fight as far as road to the UFC. But unfortunately, this fight was canceled due to Aaron Tao cheating at the weigh-ins. They put this guy in the weigh-in curtain to weigh in, and he weighs in at 122, which I think is a little weird because even flyweights don't cut down that much. So he weighs in at 122. They take off the weigh-in curtain, and then they ask him to get on the scale just to take a picture. And he gets back on the scale, and the thing just flies up. It's not a digital scale, so it's like one of those old-fashioned ones. And then he gets off, and they ask him to weigh in again without the curtain, and he weighs in at 129. This dude cheated under the curtain. I don't know what he did, but he was 3 pounds over the flyweight limit. And then Namsrai weighs in, looking lean, but looking like he just cut weight. And I was pissed because I had Namsrai as my official pick, and I also had him in the parlay, but it is what it is, man. So we go to the first fight on this card, which is Sulangrangbo versus Lawrence Lui. Give me Lawrence Lui here. I think he is the more experienced fighter. This kid, literally a kid. He's 20 years old. Sulangrangbo is pretty good. He's good on the feet. He has good striking. However, I like Lawrence Lui. He comes from a good gym, City Kickboxing, and I think they're going to implement a good game plan here against Sulangrangbo. He's probably going to look to initiate some grappling, maybe wear him down a little bit in the clinch, and ultimately get a decision win here. So give me Lawrence Lui as my official pick for this fight. Then we have Keiichiro Nakamura versus Sebastian Szalay. I like Szalay here. I think Szalay brings a kind of karate-like style, similar to like Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, into this fight, which I think he knows how to manage distance very well. He's also been in title fights because he fought for a title in Eternal, that promotion that looks like all these New Zealanders and Australian fighters fight on before they go either to the UFC or to another promotion. I think it's like a stepping stone for them. And he fought some pretty decent competition there. He weathered a storm, which I think he might have to do here. I think Nakamura is going to come out aggressive. And I've seen Szalay, handle and manage some adversity, which I think he will have to do in this fight, but ultimately get a decision win. I like his style. I think he's going to do well in the striking. And I think he's just going to land cleaner and more than Nakamura in this fight. So give me Szalay here as my pick. And then we have Wook Kim versus Donmar Fan. I think this is a close matchup. I think this is going to be a competitive fight. But give me Wook Kim to get it done. This guy, Wook Kim, is like a Korean Special Forces officer, or retired, or a former Korean Special Forces officer. Equivalent to what a Navy SEAL is in the US is what he was in Korea. And this dude's tough. He's durable. I think he's going to go in there and give Donmar Fan a good fight. I don't really see too much from Donmar Fan. They both are similar stylistically, but I think just Wook Kim's durableness and toughness is ultimately what's going to get him the win in this fight. So give me Wook Kim. There's some things that you can't teach in terms of being a Navy SEAL or a Korean Navy SEAL is something interesting that he's going to bring to this fight. And we've seen guys like Benoit Saint-Denis, who's also a French Special Forces guy. This dude does not give up. He's getting his ass beat by Renato Moicano, and he would have kept going if the ref didn't stop the fight. So Give me Wook Kim here to get the win over Dunmar Pham. And I also think Dunmar Pham's a little too young. Wook Kim is 32. He's a little older than I would like for someone who is coming into the UFC. But, you know, I think he gets this one done. He's definitely an experienced fighter, especially at that age. And against a guy like Dunmar Pham, I reckon he gets it done. So give me him as my official pick. And then we have Kaan Ofli versus Yizha. I think that's how they said it. But give me Yizha in this one. I think this is also another close matchup. However, they both are primarily grapplers. I think the first one to shoot is definitely going to have an advantage in this fight. But on the feet, I do like Yizha more. I think he's going to land a little bit more cleaner, and he's going to be probably the more aggressive one in the fight. So even though it's a close matchup, slight lean to Yizha to win this one. And then we go to the prelims. We have, opening up the prelims, Jonathan Micallef versus Oban Elliot. This is one I was back and forth, but ultimately I landed on Jonathan Micallef. I just can't get out of my head his performance against Kevin Jousset. I know that was his first fight in the UFC. He did have one on Contender Series. You can count that as being in the UFC or not, but his first official fight in the UFC was against Kevin Jousset. And he pieced that dude up, man. He landed some nice body kicks. He has a nice jab. And ultimately, I think he's going to be able to implement those here against Oban Elliot. I think Oban Elliot is a good overall, like, well-rounded fighter. But I don't see he's good at anything. Like I just mentioned, Jonathan Micallef having a nice jab, having a nice body kick. I can't really say that about Oban Elliot. You know, he's just good everywhere. But I don't see him implementing anything that might win him the fight here. So I think this one's going to be close too, but give me Jonathan Micallef as my official pick. And then we got Jacob Malkoun versus Torrez Finney. You know, when this fight was first announced, I was on the side of Torrez Finney, but after going back, watching some tape, looking at both fighters, I'm going to go with Jacob Malkoun here, man. I think Torrez Finney just has no striking whatsoever. He fought a guy like Robert Valentin, who I think the height played well in terms of Torrez Finney going for the leg, shooting the takedowns. Jacob is a little bit more of a stockier guy, you know, close in height. And I think that might be an issue for Torrez. I think Jacob can, you know, get those underhooks and sprawl to prevent the takedowns. He's also a Gracie black belt, which I like here against a wrestler like Torrez Finney. And I just think Torrez has nothing to provide on the feet. Literally, he held down Robert Valentin in his last fight. He didn't even inflict damage. He just like held him down. Robert Valentin tried to get back up. You know, he would pick him up and put him back down. He didn't even ground and pound him, nothing. And kind of a boring performance from Torrez Finney. You know, he's a great wrestler, but I think he's going to need more than that to win this fight against Jacob Malkoun. So give me Jacob Malkoun as my official pick here. Then moving up the card, we got Cam Rowston versus Cody Brundage. I am going to say that I am on the Cam Rowston side. He is going to be my official pick, but I'm not as confident as some of these coppers, you know, UFC predictors. Just because I think Cody Brundage is a talented guy, man. I think he's good in striking. You know, he is primarily a wrestler. I just think he has horrible fight IQ. His fight IQ is essentially what gets him losing fights. And, you know, he's had some good performances. He's had kind of a weird record because he has like no contest, a draw, a loss, and a win. So he's all over the place. But that being said, he's fought the higher level of competition. He's been in there with Bo Nickel. He fought Mansour Abdul Malik. He's had some other fights with guys in the UFC that, you know, have experience. So I think this is going to be a close one. I just think Cam Rowston is too good on the feet for Cody Brundage. And I know he's going to be scrambling and trying to get back up to his feet when he gets taken down. I'm not saying if he gets taken down, because I do think Cody Brundage at some point in this fight is going to take down Cam, but I know Cam is going to be working to get back up to his feet. And ultimately, I think he's just too much on the feet, where I think Cody's going to shoot maybe desperately, and that's when Cam is going to be able to defend those takedowns. Maybe in the beginning of the fight, Cody starts, shooting, getting some control time, but I know Cam is going to work. So give me Cam Rowston as my official pick for this one. Like I said, not as confident in this one as other people might be. Then we got Junior Tafa versus Billy Elekana. This is a risky one, and I'm going to go for it, but give me Junior Tafa to get this one done by KO. That's right, I said it. I know probably the whole world except Australia is on Billy Elekana, and I think he is a safe bet, but I think there are going to be some exchanges. Junior Tafa is definitely the better kickboxer of the two, and I think this is going to be more of a brawl than, a technical fight. I think Billy Elekana is definitely the better grappler, and he holds the advantage there. A lot of people are probably betting Billy Elekana by sub, which, seems like a safe bet, but I think there's definitely going to be some exchanges, and Junior Tafa is going to land big and ultimately put Billy Elekana out. So give me Junior Tafa as my official pick for this one. I know it's a little risky, but I just have a gut feeling that he's going to win this fight. All right, and then we move on to the main card. We got, opening up the main card, Salkilld versus Jamie Mullarkey. I'm not a big fan of Salkilld, especially at minus 1,000 odds, which is insane to me. He does have some pretty good wins under his belt. I think his win against Nasrat Haqparast is a big one, just because Nasrat actually beat Jamie Mullarkey in the past. So, if you do MMA math, this should be a pretty easy win for him. Although I don't see it being an easy win. I do think he ultimately wins this fight, but I would not lay the chalk on him at minus 1,000 odds. That's insane. Maybe I'm still a little salty just because I did have Nasrat in that fight against him, and he was doing good on the feet. Nasrat was piecing him up, but he landed that nasty head kick. So respect to Quillan for coming back, because he was losing that fight. And I think he beats Jamie Mullarkey here. So give me Salkilld as the official pick. And then moving up the card, we got Tuivasa, Bam Bam, versus Tallison Teixeira. Again, another risky one, but I'm going to go for it. I'm going Tuivasa by KO against Tallison Teixeira. I was never a big fan of Tallison Teixeira when he got into the UFC. He definitely had some hype behind his name and supposedly the next big thing, but we all know what happened. He got fraud checked by Derek Lewis. Derek Lewis has just become like the gatekeeper for the top 5 or 10 in the UFC. And I think Bam Bam is going to do well after this prolonged break. I think he needed it. He needed that chin to recover. He's definitely fought the way higher level of competition, man. This dude's been in there with some of the top guys in the division. So I think Bam Bam is going to be able to land big on Tallison. I think there might be some pretty big exchanges, but I think Bam Bam holds up and ultimately KOs Tallison Teixeira. So give me Tuivasa to get this one done. And then we got probably the fight I'm most excited about aside from the main event. We got Rafael Fiziev versus Mauricio Rufy. This one's close, man, and I like both guys, but I am going to go with the dog here. I'm going with Rafael Fiziev to get the win over Mauricio Rufy. I just like Mauricio. I like Mauricio striking, but I just like Rafael Fiziev's overall game, man. He's a technical striker. You can see it. He's a Muay Thai fighter, but he has improved his grappling by a lot, especially since he started in the UFC. This guy's come a long way. I love his performance that he had against Ignacio Bahamondes. He's had some pretty tough fights in the UFC. He's fought a high level of competition, and I think he's going to do well here against Mauricio Rufy, a guy who is long, who likes to use his distance. Don't get me wrong, Mauricio Rufy, I think, is the faster of the two, but I think Rafael Fiziev is probably going to be able to implement that grappling well, in the sense of maybe having Mauricio Rufy think about it to set up his shots. He has good kicks, he has good strikes, good combos. And ultimately, I think it's going to be a little bit too much for Mauricio Rufy, a little bit too soon. I like that he has been training with Volk, but I don't think it's going to be enough against a guy like Rafael Fiziev. He's had a full camp, you know, and I think he's in good shape and coming in here off a win where I don't know where Mauricio Rufi's head's at after that loss to Benoit Saint-Denis. So give me Rafael Fiziev here to get it done by decision. And then moving up to the co-main event of the evening, we have Dan Hooker versus Benoit Saint-Denis. Damn, bro. Like, does the UFC not like Dan Hooker at this point? Because they've just been giving him grapplers, and we know this guy's primarily a striker. He's had some good fights, you know, against like a guy like Jalen Turner. His fight against Gamrot was really good, and he's had good performances on the feet, but we all saw what happened in his fight against Arman Sarukian, and I think that's pretty much how this fight's going to go, because I know Benoit Saint-Denis is a good grappler, and he's going to look to implement that in this fight. I don't think he's just going to stand and try to bang with Dan Hooker on the feet for 3 rounds. There's definitely going to be some points where he takes him down to the ground and ultimately gets a submission here. So give me Benoit Saint-Denis to win this one by submission over Dan Hooker. And then we got the main event of the night. We got Alexander Volkanovski fighting against Diego Lopez in the rematch. And I'm going to say, guys, I'm going to do it. I'm going Diego Lopez by KO here against Alexander Volkanovski. Don't get me wrong, man. I love Volk. I respect him. I think he is arguably the featherweight GOAT up there with Jose Aldo. This dude is someone who has always been consistently fighting as champ. You know, there's some champs that take 1-2 fights a year. Yo, no. Volkanovski was like that golden era where he was with Adesanya, Usman, who are continuously just defending their belts. And he's been a great champ, and, you know, he seems like a good guy. Everyone loves Volkanovski. But I think this is it, man. I think Diego Lopez gets the better of him in this one, and I think he finds a KO against Volk. He's already shared the octagon with him. He had 5 rounds to, you know, kind of like download knowledge of him. And if Diego Lopez keeps it at range, Volkanovski's going to win a decision easy. But I think Diego Lopez is going to come out there more aggressive, pressure Volk, and this dude got a chin. So we know if they get into some exchanges, I think that chin is going to hold up, where Alexander Volkanovski is probably going to get rocked. And it might not be a flash KO, but, you know, I see Diego Lopez maybe following up and getting a TKO maybe. But I like Diego Lopez in this one. He just has to come out there, be a dog, which I know he is, especially against that fight against Gene Silva. He took some big shots and still ended up winning that one. So give me Diego Lopez here to get a KO win over Volkanovski. So to run it back, run you guys through my picks, I got Lawrence Lui here against Sulangrangbo to get it done by decision. Then I got Sebastian Szalay over Keiichiro Nakamura to also get a decision win here. And then I got Wook Kim to get a win over Donmar Pham. I think this is going to be a close one, but I think Wook Kim is going to toughen out a win here. You know, dog his way to win. I think he's just going to land a little bit more than Donmar Pham. Donmar Pham might get a little frustrated there. Wook Kim is definitely going to be the more aggressive one of the two, and ultimately get that win. And then give me Yizha to get a win over Kaan Ofli, another competitive matchup. All these fights, man, all these fights have been the closest odds I've seen in years. In the last UFC card, we have people who are minus 1,600, minus 1,000. Granted, we do have a minus 1,000 here, but there are guys who were like minus 400, minus 500. But we got some good odds. We got some good odds on these cards. And if you like a fighter, man, I would definitely recommend this would be the card to bet, just because of those odds being so close. And then on the prelims, I got Jonathan Micallef to get a win over Oban Elliot. Jacob Malkoun here over Torrez Finney. I think Jacob Malkoun is good on the feet. You know, that Gracie black belt is definitely going to gonna help him out here against a guy like Torrez Finney, and I think he's just better on the feet, man. I think Torrez Finney has nothing to offer on the feet yet. I've seen no improvement whatsoever. So give me Jacob Malkoun here. And then we got Cam Rowston, Cody Brundage. I think Cam Rowston gets a KO win, if not a decision win over Cody. I think this is going to be a close, competitive fight. I'm not as confident as some people are on Cam Rowston, but, you know, he is one of the more talented guys coming out of City Kickboxing. And then I got Junior Tafa to get it done by KO over Billy Elekana. You know, I'm going against the herd. I'm going against most people that are rooting or have Billy Elekana to win this one. And most people are saying by submission, so we'll see. And then on the main event, I got Salkilld over Jamie Mullarkey here. Then I got Bam Bam Tuivasa to get it done by KO over Tallison Teixeira. And then for my fight of the night, which I think this is going to be fight of the night, give me Rafael Fiziev, the dog, to get it done over Mauricio Rufy. There's just something that goes, man. I don't know. I don't know if Mauricio Rufy really has that dog in him like Gene Silver or Carlos Prates do, because those guys get in there and they seem like they like to fight. I know that Mauricio is probably the most talented of the guys, but there's just some things you can't teach in the gym, man. Gene Silva, we know what a dog he is. He showed out in his last performance against Arnold Allen, and even in his loss against Lopez, man, you saw how good he is. And same thing with Carlos Prates. You know, he had that loss to Ian Gary, but he bounced back big time. And I don't see that happening here with Mauricio Rufy. I think Fiziev is just a little bit too much too soon for him. And ultimately, I see Rafael Fiziev getting it done on the scorecards against Rufy. And then we got the co-main event of the evening. We got Dan Hooker versus Benoit Saint-Denis. Give me Benoit Saint-Denis to get this one done by submission. I mean, honestly, not too much to say here, man. I think the grappling disparity is just so large here again for Dan Hooker, and I haven't seen Dan Hooker improve, man. I just seen him get more tattoos and blonde hair over his last few fights. I think he's been the same fighter in the UFC for a while, and I haven't really seen too much improvement in the grappling game to defend against a guy like Benoit Saint-Denis. So give me Benoit here to get it done over Dan Hooker. And then in the main event of the evening, give me Diego Lopez over Volkanovski. I hate to say it because I love Volk, but I think his time is done. I think this is it. I think we see a changing of the guard. Maybe a third fight. Maybe we see a trilogy fight. You know, Volk loves to fight. I think he might be here until he's like 40, 42. But we'll see, man. I like Diego Lopez. I like to think that most times, at least from what I've seen, when we see rematches, we usually don't see the same fight as the first time. And I think Diego Lopez is going to make the adjustments, going to make the reads to ultimately get a win over Volkanovski. If he stays at distance, you know, if they stay in the middle of the cage and you just let Volkanovski, you know, jab away and strike at distance, he is definitely going to lose a decision here against Volkanovski. He's got to get into his face. He's got to be aggressive. He can't shy away from a fight. He's got to be more like Gaethje, like how he did to Paddy Pimblett. If he goes out there with that mentality and goes out for a finish, I think he gets one here against Volkanovski. So give me Diego Lopez to get it done by KO. All right, and then we go into the... All right, and then we're going to go into the official bets for the evening. All right, hold on. Let me see how I could get to my official bets. Apologies for the technical difficulties. We'll be back up and running soon. So just give me 1 second here. I want to make sure that these shits are up. Crazy. I hope you guys are excited as I am, man, because woo, This is going to be a great fight card. I don't think it's probably going to live up to the hype as UFC 324 did, just because that card was insane. But this is a pretty great fight card, and let's just dive into these bets. So, as far as my money lines go, I got Jacob Malkoun by money line at -156. As you guys can see, I had Namsrai Batbayar money line too. Unfortunately, you know, his fight was canceled. I got Rafael Fiziev money line, and I got Diego Lopez. All of these, I love these money line bets. These are the guys I'm rooting for, and I think are going to win their fights. Then we got the safety parlay. I like Micallef versus Elliot to go over 2.5. I think both guys are durable. Both guys are pretty good. I think Micallef is going to land the bigger of the shots, but ultimately get a decision win over Elliot. However, it's a little bit too close of a fight for me to want to just take Micallef straight. So give me Micallef versus Elliot over 2.5 and Benoit Saint-Denis to get it done over Dan Hooker. Then we have my favorite pick of the night. I had Namsrai Batbayar, but unfortunately his fight was canceled. I would have took him at -130. I thought those were good odds. And then the Psycho Parlay. I'm excited about this one, boys. I know we didn't hit last time, but Fiziev versus Rufi to go the distance. I think this is going to be a fun, competitive matchup. And I'm not betting who's going to win it because I know I have Fiziev, but, you know, there is the possibility where Rufi gets it done on the scorecards as well. So I'd rather just take the fight to go the distance. And then I got Benoit Saint-Denis by sub. I think this is the most straightforward bet just because, you know, it makes sense. And I'm not going to sit around and think about what could happen because this is the most likely outcome. So I wasn't thinking it too much, and I added that to the cycle. And then last, I have Diego Lopez by KO as my last leg of the cycle parlay. And then for the backup parlay, I have BSD by sub. Again, not overthinking it. And then Wook Lopez under 4.5. I just think this is going to be a competitive but aggressive fight. And I see this not going the distance. I don't know if it ends in the second, third, you know, even fourth round, but I like under 4.5 because Wook also does have some nasty ground and pound. And if he does catch Lopez, I could see a world where, you know, Wook rocks Lopez, he hits the canvas, and then follows up with some nasty ground and pound. So give me Wook Lopez under 4.5, and then Fizzy versus Rufi over 2.5. Similar to the cycle parlay, but I just wanted to take Wook Lopez under 4.5 here. This is the backup parlay, and then my long shot, I got Fiziev plus Lopez at plus 344. I think this is good value, man. I like both guys. I like both dogs in these matchups, and ultimately I see them both getting a win. So there you guys have it. Those are my official picks. These are my official bets. Just to recap, I got Jacob Malkoun, Fiziev, and Diego Lopez all money lines, and these are great odds for these guys in their matchups. And then for the safety parlay, Micallef versus Elliot over 2.5 and Benoit Saint-Denis. And then for my favorite pick, I had Namsrai Batbayar, but the fight was canceled. Then the cycle parlay, Fizzy versus Rufi to go the distance, Benoit Saint-Denis by sub, and Diego Lopez by KO. The backup parlay, I got BSD by sub, Wook versus Lopez under 4.5, and Fizzy versus Rufi over 2.5 at plus 678. And then the long shot, sorry guys. And then the long shot of Fiziev plus Lopez at plus 344. So there you guys have it. Those are my bets. Excited for this card, and I hope these hit. Thank you guys for tuning in. Please like and subscribe. I really do appreciate it. And stay tuned for the next one.